Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified Podcast, your home for all things Washington Commanders, who, by the way, just beat the Atlanta Falcons 19-13. And there's that magic number, 19 points again in the Scott Turner's offense. Nonetheless, they improved to 7-5. Eric, what'd you think about the game?
Well, would have been 20. Joey Slide made his extra point. So
True.
advantage Scott, I guess. No, not really. He still called a reverse on the last play of the game that could have iced the first time. Anyway, no, good game. Fun to watch. Very old school football game. It was almost like a high school game with all the rushes. Like I haven't seen that many combined carries in a game since 1874, I believe, was the last time you had that many. But it was cool to watch, right? Like these dudes were, I mean, both teams were running the ball very well. I mean, Atlanta's got a legit running game. So do we, and neither of us can pass. So, we got what we got, and it ended up being a pretty entertaining game. No complaints.
Hey, you know what? You cautioned me last week when I said, "Oh, I wouldn't worry about these Atlanta running backs. They're not that special." You said, "I don't know, man. They're pretty good." Hey, you were right about that. You were very, very, very correct about that. They don't have
a RB1, but they have like 4 RB2s and a quarterback who can run. I mean, I saw that stat. There's 5 players with over 300 yards rushing on that offense. So, I mean, those guys, they know what they're doing. Arthur Smith loves to run the ball, and you saw it today.
Yeah. And Julian Rodriguez.
They can't throw.
Yeah. Mariota throws knuckleballs out there, and he kills that team's momentum in the air. I mean, the receivers didn't help him out with some critical drops, but man, if they can find a quarterback who can throw the football into the numbers, they're going to be dangerous. Julian Rodriguez on last week's episodes was in the comments. He's a Falcons fan. He said he clipped the podcast at 1540 where we were talking about the running backs and how we shouldn't be concerned about them. Yeah, Mr. Rodriguez. But nonetheless, we got the dub. Brian, what'd you think about the game?
This was a much needed win. What we talked about on the podcast last week was this team doesn't handle success well, and we almost didn't handle it well today. But we came away with the win. It was sloppy, it was dirty, but we got the win. And this is something that this team can build on. Like I was excited to see this win because this type of game, we usually come up short. At the end, we usually make the mistake and run into the punter at the end of the game, and it costs us. But we didn't. We did what we needed to do, and we forced the other team to make those mistakes, right? Something that the Patriots usually do, right? They try not to make mistakes, and they let the other teams fumble and make all those kind of mistakes. So it was good to see that we had a little bit of growth there, and we won this game, and we're 2 games above 500. So how can you not like it?
Yeah.
When's the last time we were 2 games above 500?
I don't even know.
2015, maybe, I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, maybe 2018. Whatever year that.
The fact that we're even having this conversation is telling them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you what, a few critical play calls by the Falcons, I thought, really blew it for them. They were in the red zone twice, and twice suckered themselves into throwing the football. Yeah. When they were just eating us up on the ground, they would have one negative rush, and they would just say, forget this. We're going to throw the football. Why do that? Keep running the football, especially at the end of the game when the clock was just churning. It was like, you have time. You have 2 plays in the red zone. Why are you getting cute on second down and throwing this thing where Deron Payne knocked it down? So kudos to Deron Payne. He had a monster game. And truthfully, probably would have ended it earlier with that play where Mariota was down, but he didn't tag him. But he forced the pressure for Mariota to go down. But we learned a lot about ourselves today. And I think defensively, it's that there's some issues defending the run that we got to clean up big time, especially zone running schemes that stretch us wide but cut back to the middle. Woo! Atlanta was gashing us. And then without Benjamin St. Juste, there were some huge plays in the passing game. Now, most of them came from semi-broken plays, but it's just something that we need to make sure we focus on in the coming weeks. But a W is a W, and we are in prime position for the wild card spot in the playoffs. So that looks good. All right. Brian, give me something that stood out to you in the game. from watching that.
I will say the passing game wasn't as bad as we all think. I think our pass defense was actually good. They had one receiver who had about 90 yards, but everybody else didn't do anything. Their rookie Drake London did absolutely nothing. He had 4 targets, 2 catches for 29 yards. I thought Christian Holmes, who we've talked about a couple of times on the show, did a nice job in his debut starting. He had the one face mask on that big run, but if he doesn't even make that tackle, that's a touchdown. So the fact that he got by the D-line and the linebackers, he made that came up and made that tackle. I thought that was good. He had a good day. The other thing, the running game. Our running game came up and it showed up, and it was something we can lean on. We have very few things. We have our defense, and then we've got our running game now that we can lean on in some of these important situations. And it was good to see that those things stayed true in this game. We can rely on those things week in, week out. So those were a couple of things that I kind of noticed.
Yeah, I think the run game on the last podcast for the preview for this game, we said this is going to be a Brian Robinson game, and boy, was it ever. I mean, that guy was churning out yards. It drives me nuts to see him not break some of those sometimes. But again, as we said earlier in the season, it's not who he is. He's just going to get you the yards in front of him. He did a good job of that, went over 100 yards rushing. You saw Jonathan Williams come in and do what he does, get 8-9 yards a pop. That was good to see. I still think using Gibson a little bit more in the passing game it would help us out a lot. I felt like we kind of forced the ball to Curtis out of the backfield a few times today, where I think we were effective enough just running up the middle that we didn't have to do that. But that's Scott Turner. He's going to throw a couple of those in there for you every game, no matter what's going on. This game was a dogfight. And there's a part of me that says it shouldn't have been, because Atlanta has some obvious issues, including a lack of playmakers on the outside on offense. And I think on defense, they have some issues that I felt like we could exploit. Eric, assess the quarterback position for the Commanders today.
I mean, he did what he needed. We did what we needed to get the win, limited his throws. He still made some terrible throws. Obviously, that interception at the end of the first half was terrible. He got away with that shovel pass that could have easily been a fumble or intercepted. And then he went right back to another shovel pass on the next play. He didn't do anything to lose the job, because he really didn't look much different than he has in the previous couple of weeks. But he didn't, do anything to cement his hold on the position. If somebody better were to come along, which obviously, may not be this year. But he is what he is. I mean, he's going to give you those just a couple of just awful throws a game, and he's going to throw a couple of really nice passes per game. He's going to be wildly inconsistent, but he is the gamer, and he does have a knack for making things happen. That's what, the team loves him. So I don't, foresee a quarterback change this coming week. He's holding on to the position. He's going to continue to. Nothing spectacular, but the team keeps winning. So there it is.
Well, one thing too, and this is not to defend Heinicke, but I think it's something we should probably note. Heinicke already doesn't have a strong arm, and it was pouring down rain today. So that ball gets heavy, it gets slick, and if you already don't have a strong arm, you don't put a lot of zip on the ball. When that ball's wet now and it's heavier, you're probably going to struggle to throw it, and I think we saw that from Heinicke. We also saw it from Mariota as well, too. They both had problems throwing the football down the field. So I think some of that played into it, but yeah, he played not very well. He's got to get better if we want to continue to win more games.
A couple of trends that are developing with this team offensively. Number one is struggling inside the 10 in the red zone is becoming very problematic, and I think against more efficient offensive teams than the Falcons, I think that's an issue that needs to be cleaned up. The other thing is, I'm willing to bet that if you track Heinicke's interceptions this year, nearly all of them are over the middle in about 10 to 20 yard range. There's a linebacker or a safety sitting there that he just doesn't see sometimes. He threw that same interception against Minnesota on the same type of play, and just the defender didn't have to move. They were just waiting there for the ball. I don't know if it's the center that he's not seeing over top of or something, but somehow he loses that defender there. But we'll harp on that later. I thought he did enough. I thought the team did enough to win, and he didn't give the game away late in the game. So Kudos to him. Kudos to the offense. I tell you what, Jamin Davis was all over the field again. He made some very key stops, including that foot tackle that he made on Mariota, where I thought Mariota was going to house it a couple of times. So I thought he was really effective today. Deron Payne, absolute monster. I thought Forrest made some very critical tackles, some physical tackles, and then Fuller with the interception late on just a ridiculous play call by the Falcons. I have no idea why you're doing that in that particular position, but I thought they all did well. Let's jump into the numbers as always, because I want to get you guys' assessment on how the team played by the numbers. Brian, while I'm doing this, are there any other thoughts you want to share while I'm pulling up the statistics?
Yeah, I think, again, we stuck to our formula, which was possess the football more than the other team. We did that today again by a tune of 33 minutes. We had the ball to the Falcons 26 minutes. The Falcons did a lot better job running the ball and controlling it than the last couple of teams that we played, but we were still able to keep the ball for most of the game. And that's big for us, for our offense, because we don't score a lot of points. So it is important for us to keep the other team off of the field. And look, I think Eric was saying it on the last pod. Hey, this team can score. The Falcons can score, and we gave up a lot of yards in between the 20s, but we were able to kind of keep those point total down, which helped us out a lot, seeing as how we missed an extra point and we could only get 19 points today.
Yeah, the missed field goal before halftime proved to be absolutely massive for us and for the Falcons, because if they make that field goal, there's no way Atlanta's throwing the ball near the end zone on that last drive that they had, because they can kick a field goal to tie it, right? So that field goal before half was just monstrous that they missed that. All right. Mariota, 15-25, 174 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 sack, 9 yards. Heinicke, 14 of 23, which I personally feel like was too many attempts for a game like this today, but 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, no sacks. So the big key for me is the 0 sacks by Heinicke. I think that kept the down and distance in a reasonable position. Yes, he had the pick and then the other near pick, which I thought were absolutely brutal. But like we said before, I thought he did, enough to keep the game going forward. Let's jump over into the run game, because this is where the game was really won for us. Let's see. Atlanta had a whole host of people putting up yards on the ground. Eric, what do you think about Patterson today?
I mean, Patterson is Patterson. He's kind of like how you feel about Gibson. Is like they probably should give him more, but there's such thing as probably giving him too much with his special teams touches and everything like that. But I mean, the guy's effective. I definitely don't think he's any kind of a receiver anymore. He's definitely a running back through and through. I don't know why he still wears number 84. But yeah, I mean, I've always liked him. He's always been a good player. He just gets the job done when he touches the ball. Made a couple of big plays today. So really their run game in general, I mean, Algier, which I think it's totally Allgaier. Look at the way he spells it. That's Allgaier. But Algier, very impressive. Got a nice little burst, a little bit of a wiggle. I think any one of these guys could be like a lead back in like a Brian Robinson kind of mold, but they just, they've got a bunch of guys who can run the ball, who are all impressive, keeps them all fresh, and they do a great job.
Yeah. I thought they went away from the quarterback keeps way too early in the game. Mariota was just gashing us. And you didn't see it after the third quarter, really, except for on that.
Well, Smith Williams started playing it better. Smith Williams was getting roasted on it earlier on. He started playing better, and he took my advice. I always say with those, just always hit the quarterback because you assume he's a carrier, and just let everybody else play the running back. I'm glad he started listening to me, because I did notice him start doing that in the third quarter. I mean, they clearly made that adjustment. We're like, just go hit the quarterback, make sure he doesn't do that keeper, because he was cooking us on those early.
And that's a good thing that you pointed out, Eric, because the very next game that we have against the Giants, that's Daniel Jones right there. Daniel Jones has killed us time and time again with that keeper around the edge, the outside, and for a lot of yards, he's killed us. So it's good that Smith Williams made that adjustment, because he's going to need to make it for next week, because Daniel Jones will run it on us.
Absolutely. Brian, I'm going to give you the honors of Brian Robinson Jr.'s play today. Go ahead and wax poetic about BRJ.
Hey, he had a really, really nice game. I think what you're seeing with him, obviously, he's never going to be a home run hitter. That's not what he is, and that's not what he was ever kind of sold to be. Is he the guy that is going to get you maybe some 5, 10, 12-yard runs? Absolutely. And I think you're seeing with each game here that he's come back, he's getting a little bit better each game. Is it big leaps and bounds? No. But you can see his vision's getting better. You can see a little bit more of his athleticism is coming back to him. Not that he's going to be a super athlete or anything like that, but I mean, he had about a month and a half off where he didn't do anything because he was rehabbing his injury. So I think he's getting better in rounding into shape, and this is what you're going to see from him. Just physical yards right up the middle. And it was nice to see him catch a ball and run over that cornerback. I don't know who that cornerback is, but I feel sorry for him that he got ran over by the goal line.
I don't think he knows who he is after he took that hit.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. Let's look at the passing game for the receivers. Zacchaeus, 5 receptions, 91 yards. He dropped a huge pass, I think, in the first half. He should have had so much more. His hands were looking real suspect today. Drake London, I'm going to say this about Drake London because I just traded him in fantasy football. That guy has a real lack of effort, it looks like to me. Maybe it's not effort. Maybe it's just want to get to the ball. It just doesn't seem to be there for me. I feel like we dodged a bullet in not getting him, because as big as he is, as physical as he should be, to have 2 catches for 29 yards on 4 targets is unacceptable. Patterson, 3 catches, 19 yards. He does what he does. And then on our side, McLaurin, 4 catches for 48 yards. Honestly, I didn't even seem like he had that many yards, but I guess he did have the 26-yard reception there. Bates, 3 catches, 24 yards. He had the touchdown. Gibson, 3 for 22. And Robinson, 2 for 20 and a touchdown. Hey, let's not forget to shout out Diami Brown, okay, who made a critical catch. He seems to be making 1 catch a game that is absolutely critical. It's a difficult catch to make, and he's making those catches. So shout out to our wide receiver core. Eric, in this type of game, did you get about what you expected from the wide receivers today?
I would have liked a little bit more. Somebody needs to find Jahan Dotson, man. Put that dude on a milk carton. I mean, I know he has he doesn't really have a lot of reps with Heinicke, so the rapport isn't there. But man, I mean, that guy played so well early in the season, and he's getting, like, we had 1 target today, 0 catches, 0 yards. So as much as we were just crapping on Drake London, he outperformed our first round wide receiver. And I don't know if it's, I don't think he's getting all the snaps. Maybe he's not all the way back from that hamstring injury. Heinicke's definitely not looking his way. They don't seem to draw things up for him. And if they are, Heinicke's not looking there. I assumed with the weather and just the general, weakness of Atlanta's run defense, I assumed it would be a lot of focus on the running game today. The receivers, I would have liked a little bit more. There was more there at times. Heinicke either missed it or, we didn't make the catch, whatever. But yeah, we'll take it today. We got our 19 points, which seems to be just what we're going to get every week. And, it was enough today. We'll see if it's enough going forward, because it doesn't look like we're going to be scoring more than 19 anytime soon.
Yeah, the Dotson mystery is something very fascinating. It feels like when Wentz went out, they just swapped Dotson and McLaurin, because in the beginning of the season, Dotson was getting all the looks, and now McLaurin's getting all of them. And it's working. I mean, let's be real. So let's not change up things that we don't have to, but it would be nice to get the young rookie some more reps and some more targets in the game.
Well, Ellie, to your point, though, you were talking about the red zone being an issue for us to score. Well, what was Dotson used for at the beginning of the season? I mean, he was that kind of red zone target. He was coming down with these touchdowns in the end zone. So you're right. We've got to find a way to incorporate him in there, and especially if we can get him back in the red zone. Maybe that's how we incorporate him, and maybe that's how we cure some of the issues that we're having in the red zone too.
That's a great point. That is an excellent point. And yeah, we need to look that way. All right, defensively, let's see. Derek Forrest led us in tackles with 11, 8 solo tackles.
Wow.
That tells you how involved he was in the run game. Jamin Davis, 10 tackles, 6 solo tackles. I feel like every week it's now it's just a known thing. Jamin Davis is going to play great, so we don't have to call it out anymore, right? Cam Curl, 8 tackles. Deron Payne, and this is my player of the game. Spoiler alert: 6 tackles. 2 tackles for loss, had the batted ball that led to the interception at the end of the game. Just an A+ game. Jonathan Allen, 5 tackles, and Sweat had a sack and 2 tackles for loss. I thought Sweat was very effective this game as well. On Atlanta side, Evans had 13 tackles, and Walker had 9 tackles. A bunch of guys had some tackles, but they couldn't get the job done when it mattered most. All right, Brian, final thoughts about the game today.
I think this was a good stepping stone for us. You wanted to see some growth. You wanted to see how this team handled success. We usually don't do it well, and we usually fall flat on our face after we do something good. Today, we flirted with doing that, but we actually came through. We made the plays down the stretch that we needed to win the football game. And we won it. We're 2 games above 500, so that was so good to see the team. Even though we made some mistakes along the way, there was some sloppy play along the way. We did what we were supposed to do. We beat a team. This is a very beatable team. While they gave us all we could handle today, that's for sure. We beat them though, and we came away with the victory, and that was the important part of today is taking a look at that. And then we also got some younger guys in there who played. And that was good to see. But we also, if we're not going to throw to Jahan Dotson, could we use him on punt return? Because I don't really care about Alex Erickson back there.
Oh, leave that man alone. Alex Erickson, he's trying his best today. Eric, thoughts, man? Final thoughts.
That was fun. It's been a good winning streak. Now it gets real. You've got 2 games in a row against the Giants. Huge games the next 2 weeks. With wins in both of them, you can overtake them. Even with a split, you gain ground. So, it's been fun. Let's keep it going. The Giants play good defense, and their offense is okay, and it can be explosive at times. But it's time to put our big boy pants on and go get some division wins.
Yeah, it's time for some serious dubs. I thought today that this was going to be this kind of game. It was my kind of football. Keep the ball on the ground and pound. Don't give the other team a chance. And each team was trying to play the same type of game. Doc Walker called it a mirror match. It absolutely was. The team that just found a way to win today was the Commanders. You got to take the win. Let's celebrate this, and then we'll turn the page and get ready for the Giants next week. To everybody watching, thank you. Make sure you subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And we will be back on Tuesday with our Giants preview matchup. Everything we said last Tuesday came true on this podcast. Make sure you lock it in. Listen here. We will catch you next time. We are out of here. Peace.